This is an open letter for Mr. Bill Maher. Uh, we really enjoy your show, man. Thank you very much. Great show. Uh, Furthermore, I love your perspective regarding domestic issues. That is, all the liberal perspective regarding the domestic issues. Uh, you're right on the money, more or less. What I see that, and many of us see, who is that your international perspective, your blind spot seems to be your international perspective. Your international perspective is a little off balance. You can attribute that to the fact that you are wearing, you know, white man's jersey. You're wearing a pink skin jersey. The jersey, the colors of the white people of European descent, with a specific culture, with a specific religion, or around the same religion, similar religion, beliefs, and perspectives in life. And because you're wearing this jersey of pink skins of European descent, your international perspective is a little skewed. It's a little lopsided. For example, here's what I mean. When the Iraqi government was shaky, which is still shaky after invasion, and we are here to save you, so let us kill you, and all of that. Once you said that, why did we why we destabilized Iraq, and why did we remove Saddam? Now we have made it so that the fucking Iranians have influence there. Which I was a little surprised. It's sort of like the fucking Iranians have influence in Iraq. Well, you do understand that they're neighbors, right? Right on the map, you look at them, and if you look at historical maps, they even used to be the same country. All those shitholes around there used to be part of the same country, the same, Persians run the whole thing, or Iranians run the whole thing. It used to be the same country. They're more or less the same religion. They're fucking blood related. They're cousins, and they have more or less the same perspective in life. They're all brown skinned. You didn't expect them to be influence over each other. It's being surprised that they influence each other. Is being surprised that the British and the French have influence over each other, or United States and Canada influencing each other. Of course they're influencing each other. They're more or less of the same background, the same history, more or less. They have the same historical experiences. You don't want them to have the influence over each other? It's natural for them to have influence. The Iranians to have influence in Iraq, and the Iraqis have influence in Iran. It's natural for them. It would be unnatural for Uncle Sam to have influence in Iraq, because Uncle Sam is has a totally different historical experience and perspective and racial composition than the people of that fucking place, shitholes in the Middle East. That would be surprising. And this whole idea that Uncle Sam should have influence all over the planet, even if that means by force, that's surprising for you to agree with, or think that's normal, that's natural for Uncle Sam to have influence everywhere, or for people of pink skins from European heritage have influence all over the world. That's surprising. That is unnatural. to expect all over the planet everybody follow in the footsteps of the pink-skinned Europeans wherever their culture is, wherever their understanding of governance is, wherever their policies are. Everybody else should follow them and lockstep, not just follow them, being behind a little. No. They should have, they should be Christian right now, and they should have democracy right now, and that's unnatural. Different populations around the world are at different levels of evolution, social evolution, and cultural evolution, and economic evolution. Everybody is at different places in their history. It's silly to expect them to all be right now exactly where the European pink skin people of the European pink skin heritage are right now in their history. It's silly. You expect the people of jungles of Amazon to be democratic right now. Be at the same level of cultural understanding, social understanding, economic understanding that they can be exactly like Germany or similar to France, democratically run or whatever. Which and still doesn't make sense to me that considering one form of government as superior to all others. It's not. You have seen the shit that democracy has created, the leadership that democracy has created in recent years all over these democratic countries. From average George here in that your voters picked, average George and average below average Mr. T, and the actor that they have chosen as the leader, and then there was another salesman that was chosen as leader, and there was the British and the fucking French who have been choosing shit over shit in this democratic system. None of them are intellectuals. None of these leaders that are chosen are intellectuals. Especially in the presidential system, you don't find many intellectuals be chosen in the leadership, not in the Senate, not in the House, not as a president. In the parliamentary system, they're forced to somehow, the best speaker at least gets to run the fucking show. Where in presidential system, you sometimes even end up with leaders who cannot even speak, like Mr. Average George. Have difficulty speaking or pronouncing things. He wouldn't be successful in the parliamentary system. But besides that, even in the parliamentary system now they got the clown that is Boris. My point is this, that there is no way that you can judge and say why those countries that are neighbors are having influence over each other. They should be following exactly us. They shouldn't have any influence over each other. We should have influence over all of them. They should be exactly in lockstep with us. This is bullshit. And this brings me to the other blind spot that you have. You can say blind spot, you can say soft spot, and that is the situation in West Asia, Israel. You are a very strong defender and in favor of Israel. And here's the thing, I love Jewish people. I went to school with Jewish classmates. I think they're good people. They're smart people, they're good people. They have good hearts, more or less. Just like the rest of us, as much as the rest of us, the same composition as the rest of us, good and bad between them. So there is no animosity here. I don't have any animosity towards Jewish people. But what you don't want to accept, or what many people who take the Israel side don't want to admit out loud, is that Israel is not really a Jewish state. Israel is an European state in West Asia. Israel is, and why is that? Why Israel is in reality is an European state in West Asia. And just by saying that, it's an European state in West Asia. You understand what's the problem there is that is there. And the problem is why I say that is the fact, because you just look it up you just look it up very simply on the internet, Google it, and you find out that it says, okay, Ashkenazi ethnicity, Jewish people of two ethnicity, Ashkenazi and the other kind. The Ashkenazi kind, Ashkenazi ethnicity variety is an European ethnicity, and they make up 80% of the Jewish population. 80% of Jewish population in the world, on the planet, 80% is said encyclopedia that they are of Ashkenazi origin. And then you research more and you find out Ashkenazis are basically an ethnicity of Europeans who, you know, used to be living around Ukraine, and then spread from around in Ukraine. They spread across Europe to mostly to the west, to the north, and so you're thinking they may have had some. This is what they claim, is that their forefathers, there were some guys who moved to Ukraine from the Holy Lands. And there were some guys moved from the Holy Lands to Ukraine and then married the women there and reproduced over there. And the evidence for that this has happened many, many years ago. It's like we're talking about a couple of thousand years ago, these, if at all, couple of thousand years ago, some people from this area, the Holy Land, have gone to, Eastern Europe and settled down, and as people do, as all cultures and all people do, we all immigrate and migrate and settle down and reproduce and spread. This is what all animals who can move do. Plants don't move, they stay stationary. Animals that can move, they move, migrate. So we being animals, we all have migrated from somewhere. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if the idea is all of us who have migrated should have the right to return to our point of origin, all of us who have migrated have the right to return to our point of origin, then in reality, all of us who are not Africans have a right to return to Africa and settle down there. Sort of like all of us who are not African, we all know we originated from Africa. So who is to say that we don't have the right? If we go based on my ancestors used to live here, so I have the right to live here, we all can claim Africa as our own. Furthermore, more important, we all of us non-Africans can claim the Holy Land as our own. Why? Because at one point, some of our ancestors, at least one of our ancestors, crossed from Egypt to the Holy Land. You see, the crossing point, the ancient crossing point between Africa and Eurasia is the Suez Canal. That's the point where is the narrowest part of the Red Sea is the Suez Canal. So logically, anybody, these primitive, apes, or primitive humans, or primitive Neanderthals, or primitive Homo erectus who migrated out of Africa, you can be sure they have all migrated from this point, this very, narrow point of the Red Sea or Suez Canal, right there where Mediterranean meets the Red Sea. It's the Suez Canal, and this is because it's very narrow. You can say that primitive man could manage this narrow crossing with primitive, rafts and primitive boats and primitive whatever. With a piece of log, you could navigate that narrow waterway and go to the other side. So these primitive humans, my primitive ancestors, I'm sure one of them at least, has moved his ass from Egypt to the Holy Land at one point 150,000 years ago. Who knows? 20,000 years ago. Who knows? 50,000 years ago. Moved his ass from Egypt to the Holy Land, stayed there for a while, settled down, and then, because the pit stop on the two sides of the Suez Canal are Cairo and the Holy Land. If you're passing between Africa and Eurasia, you have to pass this canal, and the pit stop before the canal is Cairo, and the pit stop after the canal is the Holy Land. So in reality, all non-Africans can claim can have a claim on the Holy Land and Egypt and Cairo, saying that our ancestors have passed through this place, have probably settled down and had a glass of cold water. So we have rights to this land. You see, it just depends on how far you want to go back. You want to go back to a mythical, like 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, where mythology says Moses lived, or you want to go back 50,000 years ago, where Neanderthals and Homo sapiens met. It depends on how far back you want to go. And and the idea that my book says it's mine, it just it's laughable. It's a joke. Not the book is a joke. Well, in my view, all of the Quran and the Bible, they're all jokes. On that we agree. But the point is, the idea that my book says it's mine, so it's mine, that's a joke. That's a childish perspective to have. It's sort of like me pulling a book out of my ass and telling you, Mr. Bill Maher, that all your wealth belongs to me because my book said so. It's right here. It says, your money belongs to me. And you're gonna, throw my book in my face and laugh at me and call me crazy. It's sort of like, I don't give a fuck what your book says. You're not getting a penny. So, and you would be right. This idea that my book says it's mine, so it's mine, is sort of like a child saying, my mommy said it's mine, so it's mine. Doesn't make sense. And so this is that idea about the book. Then the idea about, heritage. We go back to the Neanderthal times and the beginning of the Homo sapien. We all have our heritage has passed through those shed holes over there. So both of these reasonings are flawed. So we come to the core of the issue. What is the core of the issue? When I see you defending the Europeans in West Asia, European settlements in West Asia, I can imagine, I can just imagine it, somebody just like you, looking very similar to you, a British guy, going up on his soapbox in the middle of Hyde Park in England, and talking and non-stop and defending non-stop the rights of the European settlers, or in specific the British English settlers across the Atlantic in East America, the rights of them to settle down and eliminate the savage locals, the savage redskins who happen to be local over there. That just going on and on, that yes, we Europeans, the Christians. Here's the difference: the first settlers in Americas there were Christians who were persecuted in Europe, small Christian minorities who were persecuted in Europe. They had to leave Europe because they were persecuted. There weren't many Jews in there, but they were all Christians and they were all persecuted in Europe. So they had to leave over there, from there to, stop the persecution and move to East Americas. That was one option. You can stay and be persecuted, or you can fucking move and live a peaceful life. Well, peaceful as soon as you eliminate the savage locals who are trying to, who are minding their own business, and they didn't have a, pain in the ass like Europeans, and suddenly they found a pain in the ass, and now they had to fight them off their land, which obviously they were unsuccessful, and the Europeans eliminated them. So your defense of Europeans in West Asia is exactly like some English guy, a white guy, a pink skin, defending the right of the pink skins, in that case minority Christians, to go and eliminate the redskins over there. You're saying the European pink skins, who in this case happen to be Jewish, have the right to settle in West Asia and eliminate all the local brown skins, or subjugate them, or suppress them, or depress them, or you push them, shove them, because they have that right. Why? Again, we went over this. You can't. Here is how silly is the idea of, because we have a holy place over there, so over here, so we have the right to come and live here permanently. Imagine if Indonesia has 250 million Muslims living in Indonesia. 250 million. Saudi Arabia's population is like 30 million. Imagine one morning Indonesians getting up and saying that instead of only our wealthy going and visiting Saudi Arabia once a year, our holy place, our holy shithole, instead of our wealthy going and visiting once a year, all of us Muslim Indonesians want to move to Saudi Arabia and live right next to our holy cube permanently. Let's go. They got out on ships and planes and moved to Saudi Arabia. There are 250 million Indonesian Muslims, and we have 20-30 million Saudi Arabians. And suddenly, the Indonesian Muslims come in and they start, pushing, shoving the Saudi Arabians, and then, putting them in camps and putting them in concentration camps and shoving them into well-guarded areas, and it doesn't make sense. Just as much as that makes sense, all the 1 billion Muslims of the world decide that they want to go and live permanently in Saudi Arabia just because the holy cube is there. Just as silly as that is, this is also a little silly. It's the same thing. All the Europeans, a large portion of Europeans who happen to be of a specific religion, in this case Jewish, have decided that no, we had it with Europe. We're going and settling down in West Asia. Well, these Europeans, my Jewish friend of European origin, the Ashkenazi folks, they all happen to be pink-skinned. I don't know how long ago their forefathers went from Middle East to Ukraine, but it's been so long ago, and so much, blood has washed out, so much, genetic information has washed out, that now all of them are pink-skinned. The locals in West Asia are all brown-skinned, and the immigrants are all pink-skinned. Just like East Americas, the locals were red-skinned, and the settlers were pink-skinned. Here's the thing, Mr. Bill Maher, I don't have any problem admitting that Holocaust happened. Holocaust was bad. I don't understand why it happened. Well, I do understand why it happened. I understand that European pinkskins, you guys, you be one of them, Mr. Bill Maher, not you specifically, but in general, what you see in history is that European pinkskins have been very aggressive, extremely aggressive and paranoid. You see it. World War One, these recent wars, global wars that took place between pinkskins. The main fighting parties were pinkskins fighting amongst themselves. Now they have, taken the war to the black and brown places. The pinkskins are sending their warriors to black and brown areas of this world to, do some, fighting over there, spill some blood over there. But for thousands of years, the European pinkskins have been persecuting each other, attacking each other, because pinkskins happen to be very aggressive. It's just in the history. You can see in their history. Why you can tell? Another reason, another proof that you can say that why I say European pinkskins are specifically too aggressive, more aggressive than everybody else, is the idea of colonialism. It's the idea of colonialism. Colonialism is basically, I'm going to leave my land, go somewhere else, fight the locals over there, get on top of them, and start exploiting the land as well as the people. That's the idea of colonialism. You have to be very aggressive. One has to be very aggressive to think it's his God-given right. It's his God-given right to go to somebody else's land, fight them until they can subjugate them, then get on top of them, then start exploiting the land as well as the people, as labor and land. You have to be, very aggressive. Normal people, not aggressive people sit and, do what they have to do at home to manage their business. How can I, make things better right here with what I have? Not, let me see who I can find to screw, even if they're on the other side of the fucking planet. Who I can rob and who I can shake down and who I can subjugate and whose labor I can use and whose resources I can steal. That's aggressiveness. And you see, Europeans, at the height of their power, Europeans have been the aggressors. European pinkskins have been the aggressors. The Chinese, at the height of their power, they shut down, they closed down. They looked inward. They said, oh, we don't want to, interact with these monkeys outside of our borders. These are lower life forms. We are at the height of our culture, at the height of our power, the Chinese. So they looked inward. They stopped exploring. And they tried to, improve their culture internally. The Persians, the empire that they built, it wasn't based on, let me go exploit next door, let me, exploit the labor and exploit the resources. It wasn't that much of that. It was mostly based on, we need to secure this Silk Road, so let me expand the empire to bring more security under one rule to more of this transition route, which was the Silk Road. So many of these Asian powers who became empires at their time, they were mostly empires, peaceful empires. They weren't colonialist. They were peaceful empires. The idea was, we want to secure our place. The Chinese didn't go to Mongolia and chop everybody up. They didn't do that. They built a wall and keep the fucking Mongolians out. The hordes of the Mongols out. Build the fucking wall. They were, They're peaceful, looking inwards and trying to, meditate, zenith. The Persians, same thing. They built another wall in their northern borders because they were getting some attacks from the northern areas, Central Asia, the Turks in Central Asia. So these were peaceful empires, peaceful people. The idea was not, let me go expand my empire, see who else I can exploit. But all the Europeans, the pinkskins, as soon as they got power, that's military power, that's, naval power, as soon as they got power, they started going, okay, who should we go and fuck? Let's go bring some gunboat diplomacy. I'm sorry, but European pinkskins are extremely aggressive. You guys are extremely aggressive and extremely paranoid. You have brought a lot of wars, unnecessary wars, into this planet. We are talking about the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraqi War, the Afghan War, all the skirmishes in Colombia, in Panama. We don't like this leader, so we're gonna, chop him up. Cambodia, Libya, South Africa. Another, place where the pinkskins decided to settle down and, subjugate the locals and then cluster the locals in these clusters of townships, reservations, refugee camps. The idea is the same. In Americas, they call them reservations. In America, they call them reservations for the local redskins. What the pinkskins, the idea that the pinkskins are implementing is all the same. Have been implementing in history, it's all the same. It's just they give it different names. When they were in their past colonial history, they for example, in their past colonial history, the pinkskins went around and told their own people that let's go over there, we have to take Christianity to them. And, if that means killing them, so be it, but we have to take Christianity to them. So under the banner of we have to spread Christianity because Christianity is the right way, because it's our way, that's the whole idea. It's like my way is the right way. Christianity is the right way, capitalism is the right way, and, democracy is the right way because it's mine. You see, that's the whole idea that all white people, pinkskins, have this idea superiority issue that our religion is the best and our form of government is the best and our race is the best. Well, many don't admit that, don't stop saying that. But that's the whole idea. So they used to say we have to go spread under the banner of spreading Christianity. They went through a period of colonialism, hundreds of years of colonialism, exploiting the local poor bastards. And now under the banner of we have to go spread democracy, our form of government is the best form of government, so we have to go spread it. So under the banner, and it's all a joke, this is all banners. Is reality, and I know, and all these politicians know, it's not about democracy now, and it wasn't about Christianity then. It's about exploitation, it's about colonialism. It's about, we got some motherfuckers over there that we can go kick their ass, so why don't we? It's as simple as that. It's profits to be made in arms industry, and profits to be made once the the pink-skin corporations have a foothold over there, because of course we're gonna put a friendly leader over there. Some leader who, we are on friendly terms. That's the whole idea, that we are going to exploit them. We are going to remove a leader that we cannot do business with, like Gaddafi, and doesn't matter if they have to go through 50 years of civil war, but eventually, hopefully they find a leader who we can do business with. If they don't, we're going to remove him as well. Really. It's like any of these cocksuckers that are running the show in Libya, right now is as if like to say any of these cocksuckers are any better than Gaddafi. Really? You cannot change a pirate ship by killing the captain. Pirate ship is not going to turn to cruise ship overnight if you kill the captain. A pirate ship, once you eliminate the captain, I have said this once before in another video, once you eliminate the captain in a pirate ship, they go through a period of civil war. You know, the pirates start infighting until one of them with the most followers becomes dominant, and you have another, you know, pirate captain running the ship. But the ship is going to remain a pirate ship, just like Libya is going to be Libya, because evolution cannot be brought over with Hellfire missiles. You can't make people evolve through war. Social evolution, cultural evolution, governing evolution, these are evolution. They take time, and they happen very slowly, depending on how intelligent the local shitheads are, how good their education is, and how intelligent the locals are. So none of these wars and removing of the leaders, and none of this shit is doing any good for the locals, because none of these removing and none of these revolutions and none of these eliminations of the leadership is going to make life better for the locals. And you know it, and I know it. But, you know, the leadership keeps denying it, that yes, we can do some good by eliminating bad guys. Back to the topic of West Asia. Sir, you're advocating for settlers, for European settlers settling down in West Asia. I love Jewish people, and I do think Holocaust happened, and Holocaust happened, as I went over this, is because Europeans are aggressive. It wasn't, the Jewish people were not the only ones who were persecuted for many years in Europe. So were the Gypsies. As we know, the Germans eliminated the homosexuals and the retarded people as well. As we know through history, Europeans have been persecuting all Christian minorities all over Europe. Catholics were persecuting the Protestants, and the Protestants were persecuting the Catholics, and the Church of England was, you know, persecuting the Catholics in England, and the Lutheran Church was, you know, persecuting the Catholics, and the Catholics were persecuting the Lutherans, and shit was persecuting. Fuck. This is all Europeans persecuting each other. Whoever was dominant started persecuting the minorities. This minority sometimes happened to a minority Jewish population or a minority branch of Christianity. And we just saw it in fucking Yugoslavia. The Croatians and the Serbs, they followed two fucking different churches. That was their main issue. Yes, they have some ethnic differences, but as far as I can see, they're all fucking pink skin. Not that I have anything against pink skins. I love pink skins. Because your aggressiveness is the same reason that we are going to space. It's the pink skin aggressiveness that we have, you know, we have gone to South Pole. There is stations in South Pole. None of those stations belong to any of the African countries because they, you know, they didn't want to bother during their history. So this aggressiveness that my pink skin friends have, this is a good thing in its place. In exploration of space and settling down on Mars, you need a bunch of pink skins to do it. None of the brothers are going to volunteer to settle on Mars for many decades to come. No Asians, no Africans, no, they won't, because they're not aggressive as the pink skins. they couldn't be bothered. But so this is not a, oh, you guys are bad guys, so so go stand in the corner. No, you have your, the same attributes that you have that has caused a lot of suffering around the world because of this idea of this aggressiveness, has caused a lot of colonialism and a lot of wars, aggressive wars, and all this shit that has happened around the world has happened because of the pink skin aggressiveness. But a lot of good has been also taken place, scientific wise, exploration wise, caves in South America are, being explored by Frenchmen. Nobody from South America, none of the Indians want to go inside many of those caves, for example, in Africa or in South America, but a lot of French and English men and women decide to go splunking and explore, shitholes in caves. That's the aggressiveness. That's the, this idea that being at the forefront, on the edge, and now the space. So again, this is not your bad people. This is who you are. If you use it in a good way to go settle down on Mars, make uninhabitable planets habitable, make uninhabitable areas of this earth habitable, such as South Pole, that's a good thing. But going Europeans, pinkskins, going to West Asia, going to East America, going to South Africa, going to East Asia, Hong Kong and Macau and all of the opium wars, Vietnam and Indochina and Indonesia, this part of aggressiveness that is pointed towards the other inhabitants of this fucking planet, this is the part you guys should cut it out. You don't have the best religion, you don't have the best form of government, and George W. Bush and Mr. T is a testament to that your form of government is not the best form of government, and your religion is not the best religion, and your race has its own attributes. But again, the white man can't jump. You have good attribute, you have some attribute that means you're a little more cognitive and more exploring and more aggressive, but then you can't jump or dance. Different races have different attributes. But my point is this, that this idea that you're defending settlers, European settlers, in this case they happen to be Jewish, defending them, settling down in West Asia, is absurd. It's like defending Europeans coming and settling down in Americas and eliminating all the locals. As I said, when the Americans were eliminating the Redskins in Americas, they pushed them down in reservations. The same reservations in South Africa were called townships. The same townships in Israel are called refugee camps. The idea is the same. Europeans come, the locals, let's put it the other way, the locals get fucked and the Europeans come. Holocaust happened, yes, it happened. It's because of European aggressiveness towards each other. They did a lot of bad things to minorities, minority Christians and they did a lot of bad things. Europeans have done a lot of bad things to each other. And they did the Holocaust with regards to the Jewish people. But the solution is not so the Jewish people should go find another place to live. Or, just like they said, these minority Christian sects should go and find another place to live. In Americas, for example. Or when the fucking British class system was leaving a lot of people hungry and destitute, so they had to commit crimes in order to feed themselves and families. So they ended up in jail. So the British fucking system decided that, okay, we send all these poor people who had to resort to crime to feed themselves because of our class system. We get rid of these poor people by sending them to somebody else's land in Australia. Go over there, my fellow pinkskins. Yes, you're poor and destitute here, and that's because we have a class system in which, you know, we have the queen who owns half of the fucking island, and the rest of you are peasants that have to eat dirt. Okay, peasants, go over there and kick some ass and earn your own way by eliminating the local blackskins in Australia. It's the same thing. What happened in Australia, what happened in America, what happened in South Africa, what is happening in Israel. It's the same thing. I'm not sure why you can't see it. Every time Europeans have a problem with a section of their population and they persecute them, they leave them one way out. They say, you have an option, stay here and be persecuted, or go somewhere else. Here's the door, and we are going to support you, even if that means militarily. We, the rest of Europeans who were just persecuted you, we're going to support you over there. We persecute you here, but we support you there. Does that make sense to anybody? Do you see this? I mean, synagogues in the United States are attacked by some crazy motherfuckers, but then, you know, 3 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion a year is given as military support to the same people over there. The same people who are living over here and being persecuted, being attacked. But if you go over there and live, we support you in somebody else's land, in the brown skin land. The same support that the European settlers got in America. They were persecuted back home because they were of minority Christian sects. They were persecuted back home wherever they came from in Europe, in the British island, the French, the Spanish, the Germans, doesn't matter. They all persecuted their own Christian minorities. They persecuted them at home, but after they fucking left and went to the Redskin land, they supported them. Even militarily, money and militarily. How is that logical? Same thing with South Africa. Same thing with Australia. These criminals that the British took out of their jails, who are criminals because of poverty, because of English class system, they took them out of jail. They were persecuted, jailed in their own country because of poverty, because of the class system. They were prosecuted. So once they took them out and they sent them to Australia, then they supported them over there, the same people. This is it's an idea of forced migration. Sort of like, my people, I hate them at home, but I love them abroad. I love them if they're in somebody else's land. Because at the end of the day, I'm pink and they're pink, so they're eating my pie over here, but if they go and eat somebody else's pie, I give them a knife to kill that guy and take the whole pie. That's the whole idea with the Germans selling all kinds of, you know, submarines to Israel. It's sort of like, fuck, you couldn't live with them, but you persecuted them while you were living with them, but now they're in somebody else's land and you're supporting them. Why can't you live with them peacefully and not persecute them so they don't have to go somewhere else that they need all kinds of arms to protect themselves against the locals? I'm not defending the locals. The locals are shitheads. But shitheads also have the right to, you know, live peacefully. in their shitty holes. Don't they? I mean, I read a quote from Churchill, Mr. Bill Maher. I read this quote from Churchill, which, I researched it, and it seems it's legitimately was quoted from Churchill, that he defended South Africa, and the fact that he basically here was the premise of the quote was this. The whole idea behind the quote was this: that he approved of pinkskins from Europe moving to these places such as Americas and South Africa and Israel, and Australia. He approved of that based on the premise of, he said, I'm okay with that. I approve their immigration, and I approve that they eliminated and suppressed and eliminated the locals because we were a better civilization. We were a higher people of a higher civilization, and we have the right to go eliminate the locals. And not eliminate. He didn't say eliminate, but we had the right to go there and become the dominant power over there, and because we were of higher. We are of a higher civilization. This is the part that you understand, that it wasn't the Germans so much that they were racist. It wasn't the Nazis. The real racists in this world, on this planet, are the British. The British are extremely racist. Not on the surface. Deep down, the British are the most racist race on this planet. Deep down. They just, you have to be racist, and you know that because the British had the biggest colony in the world, had the widest colony. They colonized the most acreage, the most surface area of the planet. They got the most surface of the area of the planet under their control. You have to be very appreciative of yourself to feel you have the right to take other people's life in your hand, under your control, under your governance. That's thinking of yourself as a higher race. And the British thought of them always think themselves of the higher race than everybody else. That's why they feel it's their right to dictate what religion should people of the rest of the world follow. Christianity, they used to. And now they feel the right to dictate what kind of governance should the rest of the planet have. And not only what kind of governance should they have, but which leaders should they have. We pick your leaders. Don't worry about it. That's racism. That's what racism is all about. That says, I know better than you how you should live your life. That's racism. I know what religion you should follow. I know better what kind of governance you should follow. I know better, how you should eat your chicken. The British are the real racists in Europe, not the Germans. Not the Germans. From the experience from what I've read and the experience that I've had, wherever the Germans went around the world, they have always helped the locals, built shit for them. From bridges to railroads, they built shit for them. From, iron refining factories. The first refining factory in the Middle East was built by the Germans for the Iranians in Iran. The British never wanted to build anything for anybody unless it directly served them. So they built the railroad in India just so they can load up the raw material and take it back to England and process it there. You see what I mean? The British stole everywhere took the raw material back home for themselves to process it back in their fucking island. The British are the real racists. The British are the destroyers. The Germans are the builders. I'm sorry, but this is the fact. This is, you read the history, you see Germans have been building all over this planet. And the British have been destroying all over this planet. Destroy the local industries so you can take the raw material back to your fucking island to process it over there. So if you see the British, they have always been destroying the local industries, bombing if they have to. They killed the fledgling, the newly birthed Iranian democracy. They killed it because they were stealing oil from the Iranians, taking it back to Britain, refining it and selling it themselves, and using it and selling it themselves. And once the Iranians said, fuck you, we want to keep our own oil and we want to refine it here and we want to sell it ourselves, the British killed the Iranian democracy in its infancy, just because the Iranians dared stop the British theft. The British are the real problem on this planet. On your planet, Mr. Bill Maher, the British and the British policies and the British perspective is the real problem. Not the Germans and no one else, and not the Jewish people and not the Germans and nobody else. The problem is the British and how they view themselves, their position on your planet. How they want to suppress and subjugate the rest of the planet. Now the British are fucking everybody else on this planet, other races on this planet, not with their own penis because their own penis is not that big. So the British are using Uncle Sam's penis to fuck everybody else on this planet. The British, now their own penis are, is not much to talk about. So now the British are in bed with Uncle Sam and they are using Uncle Sam's penis to fuck the rest of this planet. This is how British are. If they don't have a penis themselves to fuck people with, they use somebody else's penis. Being in bed with the British is the worst thing anyone can do. Following in the British footsteps, being led by the British, conversing with British, anything to do with the British is the worst thing anybody can do. Many of the main reason for most of these recent bloodsheds in Afghanistan and Iraq, surprise, surprise, they were both ex-British colonies. These were the places that Iraq was, colonial British since they broke the Ottoman Empire in pieces, and Afghanistan has been a British colony since the British broke it off Iran. Kashmir, another piece that the British left there, they broke it off Pakistan, and now the two nuclear powers of Pakistan and India are about to go to nuclear war over a fucking piece of land that the British fucked up. The British are the cocksuckers who created two. They had the option. You see, the British had the pen and the paper, and many of the land divisions between these states, these countries, was done by the Europeans and specific the British. They broke the Ottoman Empire. They had the opportunity to create new countries in the Middle East. So they broke the Ottoman Empire and they made Iraq into a landlocked nation. Landlocked. Iraq is a landlocked nation. It doesn't have a warm water port anywhere. The oldest civilization on this planet the Mesopotamian civilization, the Mesopotamian people have been forced by the British into a landlocked nation with no warm water ports. How vicious, how malicious can a people be to do such thing? The British are as vicious, as malicious as you think, and then some. The British knew Afghanistan will never mount to some anything if they break it off Iran, and because it's going to be a landlocked nation. Landlocked nations are always backwards and conservative because they're landlocked. They can't trade much. They don't have warm water ports. They become extremely conservative, backward. The only solution to landlocked nation is to make them part of a nation that is not landlocked and has warm water ports, deep sea ports. But they did it anyway. So they created Afghanistan, they cut it off from Iran, they created Afghanistan, and now it's, for hundreds of years, it's been sitting there and just infighting. It's a shithole. Mongolia, that wasn't done by the British, but you can see from how backward the Mongolian country is, you can see that and see how bad things can get in a landlocked country. The British are the problem. And the main reason the British were so the first seed of European colonies in West Asia, that is Israel, was a child of the British. And the main reason for that, it is clear that the British saw that they cannot hold on to the Suez Canal. The Arabs, Egypt, the Africans in Egypt are, too many. There's too many of them. They cannot, eliminate all of them, and eventually they become independent, and eventually they will, want to run their own fucking canal. So the British wanted the footstep, the pinkskins of Europe, and specifically the British wanted a footstep, a landing place near the Suez Canal to have some kind of say and some kind of control over the Suez Canal. So the British volunteered my Jewish friends to move over there. The British volunteered them to move over there and supported my Jewish folks to go over there and supported them while they were there, because the British wanted a pink-skin foothold next to the Suez Canal, because they realized they cannot keep their other foothold, which was Egypt, for much longer. Once they realized they cannot hold on to Egypt as a colony, another colony, once they realized they cannot hold on to Egypt for much longer, they decided to start their own colony on the other side of the Suez Canal. And their own colony, what I mean is the pink-skin colony on the other side of the Suez Canal. There is the African colony, African settlements of Egypt on one side of Suez Canal, but the Europeans wanted their own foothold on the other side of the Suez Canal. Therefore, Israel. And this whole idea again goes back the same way. It's just, I love Jewish people. I think Holocaust happened. I'm not denying that it happened, but I consider it as another time Europeans became aggressive towards each other, as they have been in the past. But I see the solution to that is that Europeans accepting Europeans back in their own countries and stop persecuting the Jewish folks. Stop persecuting them. Stop attacking them in your own country. What the fuck is this that the Europeans keep attacking their minorities, and then persuading them to go and settle down somewhere else, in somebody else's land, in the redskin land, in the brown skin land, in the black skin land, over here, over there. Go anywhere except here and we support you. But don't stay here, because if you stay here, we persecute you, we prosecute you, we do nasty shit to you. That's a European problem. Stop doing nasty shit to each other. While you're at it, stop doing nasty shit to people of other places in this planet. These wars, none of them were necessary. You cannot bring stability and security and safety at the end of Hellfire missiles. You cannot bring safety and security and stability and good economy and schools. You cannot bring any of that with the business end of a Hellfire missile. Stop saying that we are there to help them by, taking a side of one faction against the other faction. In Korea, you're not helping. By taking the South Korean side against the North Korean side, you're not helping. It's just not helping. They're Koreans. They understand each other. If you pull back, if Uncle Sam pulls back, the Koreans will find a way to get along. Just like Vietnam. As long as Uncle Sam was there, as long as the European pinkskins were there was a problem. The pinkskins left. Vietnam tried communism for a while, then a little nationalism, then a little capitalism. It's managing. The only thing they cannot manage is the Agent Orange. That has become part of their genetic DNA. Thanks to Uncle Sam. Thanks to the pinkskin. Poor Uncle Sam. I love Uncle Sam. It's just the pinkskins. You pinkskins are too aggressive. Under the banner of we are here to help, a lot of locals die, but the banner says we are here to help, but then the locals keep dying. We are here, I've brought you our great religion. 110 million Redskins died just in North America. 110 million Redskins died, but the banner said we are here to, save you with our religion. 3 million Iraqis died. The banner but says we are here to help you, bring you a new form of government. Did they ask for it? Did they want it? Did they understand it? Has it even worked for you? I mean, chief of the tribe ends up becoming the guy who can't speak well, who can't think well. Mr. George W. Bush. That's the chief of the Democratic tribe. The biggest, the baddest, the most badass tribe, the biggest, with the biggest penis on this planet. The tribe with the biggest penis and the biggest bombs ends up with George W. Bush as its leader. Now you're telling me that this form of government is the best form of government? When the Joker gets to seat in the top seat for 8 years, the frat boy, who was a frat boy, who was a joker, who was not good at business, who was good at playing tricks and, having a good time, he ended up becoming the leader of the biggest, the baddest tribe on the planet for 8 years. And you're telling me, and not an intellectual, and you're telling me this is the best system, that we should spread it. We don't pick intellectuals as our leaders, not great thinkers. We pick We don't pick our leaders from the chess club. We have a form of government that somehow our leaders end up coming from the frat house, not the chess club. And this is a form of governance worthy of export. Mr. Bill Maher, you have a great show, but and your domestic views are great, but your international views are a little biased against other races and for the pinkskins. It's a little biased. I mean, specifically in regards to West Asia, the best idea is just stop attacking Jewish folks at home. Stop attacking them, stop persecuting them, honor them as your fellow countrymen. And don't expect them to go in somebody else's land and fight with those shitheads over there to settle down over there.